The surgical strikes have shown that the rules of the game have changed. No longer can Pakistan insist that since it has a nuclear weapon, there will be no retaliation to Pakistan-sponsored terror. Total change in the rules of engagement, all that and much more. But first, as always, the top 10 headlines at 10. A week after 7-year-old Pradyum's murder, Haryana Chief Minister M.L. Khattar orders a CBI inquiry. The state government will also take control of Ryan International School in Gurugram for a period of 3 months. The murdered boy's parents welcome the decision. Tamil superstar Kamal Haasan ends months of speculation over his entry into politics. The actor says he will not join any political party but will float his own political party. India Today scoops exclusive information about the murder of journalist Gauri Lankesh. Karnataka CID officer who's probing the murder of scholar Kalburgi says prima facie there are similarities in the murder of the 4 rationalists. The same weapon may have been used. Central government to file an affidavit in Supreme Court on Monday to spell out its stand on the Rohingya refugee crisis. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee says Rohingyas are common men and not terrorists. Opposition parties question Rajasthan Police's clean chit to the 6 suspects named by Pehlu Khan, who was lynched in Alwar for transporting cows. His family to approach the Supreme Court on the 22nd of September. TMC minister's Dadagiri caught on camera. Didi's Mantri abuses a bank officer, threatens to beat up the bankers. The final hearing in the 2 murder cases against Dera Sacha Sauda Chief Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh tomorrow. Haryana put on high alert, 40 companies of Central Armed Police Forces deployed. All roads leading to the district court closed. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe agreed to take forward infrastructure projects in the northeast, China indicates it is opposed to the involvement of any third party in Arunachal Pradesh. An explosion on an underground train at Parsons Green railway station in London leaves several commuters injured. Scotland Yard says it is a terror incident. Scores of commuters suffer injuries in the terror strike. In a brazen rejection of tough UN sanctions, North Korea fires another missile over Japan for the 2nd time in a fortnight. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe calls for an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council. It's been a year since the world was stunned by India's audacious surgical strikes across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to teach the state sponsors of terror a lesson. Now, for the first time, the officer who led India's counter-terror offensive has broken his silence in an explosive interview that features in a new book co-authored by India Today's Shiv Arur. You're about to watch explosive excerpts made available exclusively to India Today for this big Newsroom national exclusive.
It's a day India will never forget. A day when the country announced to the world that it had crossed the line of control and destroyed Pakistani terror camps.
The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night. Significant casualties have been caused to the terrorists and those who are trying to support them.
The stunning operation a year ago which India declared to the world, signaling not just that it wouldn't hesitate to hunt its enemies deep inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but that it would be fearless in sharing its victories with the world. But in the 12 months since the operation, the surgical strikes have remained shrouded in secrecy, guarded by protocols and totally off limits for the public until now. Revealing India's most secret operation in hostile territory in his first ever interview, the army major who led the surgical strikes has spoken out in a new book, co-authored by defense journalists Shiv Arur and Rahul Singh, and officially endorsed by the Army Chief General Bipin Rawat. And India today has gained exclusive access to this shattering chapter that tells the surgical strike story for the first time in the words of this man. Army Major Mike Tango, the secret radio name he used during the deadly mission. While India today, the authors and many in the public are aware of the officer's real name, we have decided to use his secret radio name to protect his identity as he remains under threat. It was on the 18th of September 2016, when Uri was under a devastating Pakistani terror attack, that Major Mike Tango was activated. Deployed at the time in Siachen on a temporary assignment, he was immediately summoned to the Uri sector, arriving there 48 hours later with his men. What you're about to hear are the first public words by Major Mike Tango since the surgical strikes.
Since we were so close to Pakistan Army posts, we had little or no movement. They may have suspected Special Forces presence on the LOC, but being spotted was not an option.
Major Tango and his men had not been informed of their precise targets yet, but they were certain they were about to embark on a revenge mission across the line of control, and that the highest officer in the government would shortly sign off on the operation. As he waited for his orders, Major Tango switched on his camp television only on 2 occasions. First, on September the 24th, to watch Prime Minister Modi's speech in Kerala, and the second, 2 days later, to catch External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's speech at the UN General Assembly in New York. The same night, the Major received his final standby orders and the top secret list of targets in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And now, the most explosive detail never before known.
Through mass communications, we contacted 4 assets across the LOC, 2 local villagers in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and 2 Jaish-e-Mohammed operatives who had been turned by Indian agencies a few years ago.
A shattering revelation that adds thundering new color to India's operation. The Major has also revealed for the first time the weapons he and his team carried for their daring assault mission. These included M4A1 assault carbines, Tavor TAR-21 assault rifles, GALIL sniper rifles, Instalatsa C-90 disposable grenade launchers, and night vision goggles.
As team leader, my concern was to get all my men out safely. I had chosen the best men for the job, but the one thing bothering me was the de-induction, the return. That's where I knew I could lose guys.
With final checks done, on the night of September the 27th, 2016, Major Mike Tango and his men departed their camp and crossed the line of control into hostile territory. They trekked 3 kilometers inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
This was meant to be total surprise action, and it was. But as we neared our targets, the Pakistan Army posts began firing illumination rounds to light up the area. If they could even smell us, we would have had a fight on our hands, and their positions meant they could dominate us.
As the Major and his men crawled towards the launch pads, he made a critical decision in the name of safety and secrecy to postpone the attack till the following night, but spend the next 24 hours completely hidden in the most hostile territory imaginable.
That night, I downloaded a set of coded text messages from Srinagar with updated intelligence and a pair of photographs of the area taken by the Indian Air Force Heron surveillance drones flying near the LOC.
It was on the night of September the 28th that the famous assault began, with the elimination of 2 terrorists guarding the launch pad.
From a distance of 50 meters, I opened fire at the 2 terrorists, dropping them instantly. I ordered my men behind me to move towards the launch pad and open heavy fire directly. Then our assault teams moved in, all guns blazing. Nearly every bullet fired found a target.
In a terrifying development, 2 terrorists were spotted trying to outflank the Indian warriors and ambush them from behind. But Major Tango had spotted them.
Realizing that the 2 terrorists would in seconds be in a position to shoot down my men with a few bursts of fire, I sprinted through the forest directly towards them. I didn't have time to raise my carbine, so I used my Beretta 9mm pistol to kill them from 5 feet away.
A total of 20 terrorists were killed at the 2 launch pads attacked by Major Tango's team that night, with the other 2 teams eliminating a further 20 more between them. The official death toll standing at about 40 terrorists and 2 Pakistan Army soldiers. In his interview in the new book, Major Tango also reveals how the return to safe territory was a scary game of the hunters becoming the hunted. Listen to what happened in his own words.
A decision had to be made whether to risk taking the speedy escape route that would bring with it the certainty of angry firepower from the Pakistani post, or to trek a different path that would be longer, more circuitous, but would offer a safe passage to the warriors.
Major Tango and his men chose the latter, a decision that almost definitely played a part in saving their lives and limbs. Listen to the devastating experience of the return in the officer's own words.
Furious by the attack, the Pakistan Army posts opened fire with everything they had, from medium machine guns to rocket-propelled grenades. Ammunition of every kind, shot of heavy artillery, rained down on earth around us. At one point, the bullets were so close that they were literally whistling past our ears.
It was finally at 4:30 a.m. on the 29th of September 2016 that Major Mike Tango and his band of Special Forces warriors crossed back across the line of control to safety. A trail of devastation and history behind them. Shiv Arur in Delhi for India Today.
Pakistan has remained in denial. Pakistan claims the surgical strikes never took place. But now there is conclusive evidence of where these soldiers entered from, how they targeted Pakistani terrorists and their handlers, the damage that was caused, the inside details about how plans were changed virtually midway during operations because the soldiers had to stay overnight. They had to stay 1 day extra. They remained hidden. It was virtually touch and go. What will Pakistan say now with this information now out in public domain?
Has Pakistan been stunned into silence this week? With the Indian Army Major who led last year's surgical strikes breaking his silence in a new book, has Pakistan's year-long denial of the operation just found its biggest challenge? Remember last year when India's brave Special Forces men crossed the LOC to destroy Pakistani terror launch pads? This is how Pakistan had reacted.
28 सितंबर को भारत ने जंगबंदी मुआहदा तोड़ते हुए लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल से शदीद गोलाबारी की, जिससे पाक फौज के 2 बहादुर फर्जंद शहीद हो गए।
इंशाअल्लाह ताला अगर फिर उन्होंने कोई खिलाफ वर्जी की, लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल की या सीज फायर को लाइन को वायलेट किया या सीज फायर को वायलेट किया, तो पाकिस्तानी अफवाज जो हैं उसका मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगी।
ये जो जिस तरह की आवाजें आ रही हैं नरेंद्र मोदी की गवर्नमेंट से, जरूरी है कि कौम सारी इकट्ठी हो और इंशाअल्लाह एक भरपूर तरीके से वो जवाब दूंगा जो अब तक नवाज शरीफ नरेंद्र मोदी को जवाब नहीं दे सका।
But with the army standing firm behind its major who led the surgical strikes as he comes on record about the operation, Pakistan's wanton denials have just revealed their biggest ever poser. Pakistan couldn't defend against the Indian Special Forces team. Can it now defend against the tell-all account of what really happened?
Through mass communications, we contacted 4 assets across the LOC, 2 local villagers in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and 2 Jaish-e-Mohammed operatives who had been turned by Indian agencies a few years ago.
Questions now explode for Pakistan in the face of the only first-hand government and army-endorsed account of the 2016 surgical strikes. Can Pakistan continue to deny surgical strikes? Will Pakistan accept challenge posed by first-hand account? Have surgical strike specifics shamed Pakistan afresh? Will Pakistani army respond directly to new revelations? Will new revelations impinge on Indo-Pak relations? Pakistan has had a sickening track record on owning up to terror, and an even worse one when it comes to admitting to successful operations by Indian forces. But with the Indian government standing fully behind the major who led the surgical strikes as he breaks his silence a year later, does Pakistan have anywhere to hide now? Bureau Report, India Today.
Explosive revelations of India's surgical strike inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and this information available only on India Today. Shiv Arur, our consulting editor, spoke to the army major of the special forces who carried out the surgical strike. Shiv joins me on the broadcast. Shiv, welcome. Also with me, General Ved Malik, former chief of the army staff, and Professor Qamar Cheema from Pakistan. Welcome on the show, gentlemen. But first, I want to focus on 8 key takeaways from what Shiv Arur has told us. So, Special Forces team did not get the target data till the last moment. So, till the last moment, they did not know where and what their target was. Special Forces team officially expected casualties when it went inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir at multiple locations to carry out the surgical strike. The Special Forces team also used spy molds, and this is one big takeaway embedded in the Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist organization in Pakistan and also 2 other handlers in Pakistan. They had to spend a full day and night in POK, and this was where a call was taken by that young major on ground for his team to spend an additional day and night in POK, strike and return. So technology came to India's aid. There were drones, unmanned aerial vehicles that were confirming the target and movement at all times. Radio silence, and this is extremely significant. Radio silence had to be broken twice to communicate back to the base. But that's not all. The Indian army used special exit route to confuse the Pakistan army, and this was extremely dangerous because they did not take the pre-decided route to come back. They went deeper into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and took another circuitous route to come back. Now, Pakistan army responded immediately. It targeted the Indian commandos. Pakistan army snipers targeted commandos after they returned. Fortunately, all our boys came back unhurt, and that is one big achievement that speaks of the professionalism of the Indian army. But Shiv, I want to ask you first, the decision to strike inside Pakistan to teach them a lesson for the Uri terror attack had been taken. But the nuts and bolts, you spoke to this major, we are not naming him on the broadcast. What were his instructions just before he was launched?
The instructions were very, very simple. Gaurav, Major Mike Tango, which was his radio name during the broadcast, was very simple. First of all, the targets were shared only at practically the last minute. The Major and a few other senior officers, including his commanding officer, who was a colonel rank officer, were aware of the targets, so they could conduct this intelligence, the reconnaissance missions, gather more intelligence from the drones, and also, like you said, keep in touch with the moles that were embedded there in the Jaish-e-Mohammed and in POK to confirm the targets. The orders were very simple. You need to get there, leave nobody alive, try and keep everyone in your team alive, and return as quickly as possible. Very clear-cut, simple orders.
The aim was to inflict pain not just on terrorists across, but those who were handling terrorists. And Kamar Chima, I want to come to you now. I want to understand from you, Kamar Chima, Pakistan can't deny this anymore. Now the nuts and bolts are out in public domain. Your army, sir, was caught napping. The surgical strikes happened.
Well, I think the problem with Indian military doctrine is that whatever the Indians want to do, they want to keep everything below the nuclear threshold. That's the limitation of India. Now, in this situation, what we have understood is that this was, in my personal opinion, this was a cross-border raid because surgical strike involved striking, deep into the enemy territory with actually using the air power. We have a general on the panel, and the general can tell you better that without using air power, you cannot call it a surgical strike. What the Americans did in Iraq, what the Americans did in Iraq in 2014, that was a surgical strike. So before going on ground...
Fair point you make there, what the Americans did in Abbottabad, again in Pakistan, so that was a surgical strike inside Pakistan, where Osama bin Laden was killed in your territory. That was a surgical strike. General, was this simply a cross-border raid, or the expanse would classify that this as a surgical strike, considering it was on either side of Pir Panjal, sir?
No, there are two important issues involved here. Firstly, there is no definition of surgical strike, how deep it should go and who all should take part.
Exactly.
It is not necessary for that the Air Force must take part. In this case also, we have used the Air Force helicopters, but nowhere it is given that the fighter aircraft should be utilized or any other that kind of long-range aircraft should be utilized. That is one. Secondly, yes, it was to send a political message. Frankly speaking, we have done shallow such raids earlier, not so extensively, not at such a broad front earlier also, but then those were done under the military instructions. This time the message was that it was a politically ordered. Now there is a lot of difference, a strategic difference when we are talking about this kind of raid. Yes. So the message, political message was important. These are the two aspects I think we should remember.
Okay, so raids have been carried out.
I want to compliment.
Yes.
Firstly, I want to compliment. May I compliment Shiv Arur and Rahul Singh for a very good book, India's Most Fearless, that they have written. And I think it was something that has been needed, because I feel that people who have now, this is a recent incident, and people can connect to these recent incidents more easily than something that took place 20 or 30 years ago. So firstly, my compliments to them, and I can say that on behalf of the entire Fauji community.
Absolutely.
The second point I want to make here is that there is a great hunger for such stories.
Absolutely, and Kamar Chima,
there is a
the
great
political
hunger
message.
for such stories. I travel a lot.
Yes.
I talk to people.
Go on, sir. You're making
Let
a
me
fair
just
point.
finish, Gaurav. I travel a lot, and I find that our young people are very hungry to hear such stories. So I'm glad that this book has come, and it is going to inspire a lot of people. The third point I want to make here is that it has been this whole first story about the surgical strike has been over politicized. Look, people who are asked to go on such missions, they are not involved in politics.
Yes.
They are given orders, and they go and implement those orders. And this is exactly what has happened. So there is, if you ask any of these people any political questions, he won't be able to answer.
Absolutely.
But
I'm on the principle of international relations here. General, I get that. No, our internal issues we will deal with separately, General. But now that we have a Pakistani guest on the broadcast, the messaging here is very critical, Qamar Chima, that if Pakistan sends in terrorists in our country, there will be a response, and not just those terrorists who come into our country, not just they, but even their handlers will be eliminated. That message goes out, sir, and as you rightly pointed out, under the nuclear threshold.
Well, I think the general is endorsing Pakistan's perspective that India was in fact playing to the gallery. India want to make it public assure that we want to do something, even if it is shallow. Now, the point is that the Indian military doctrine has actually changed the meanings of surgical strike. No one on earth has come up with this meaning of surgical strike, which the Indian military and Indian authorities are coming up. Now, the point is that India wanted to give a message to international community, but India has...
What Pakistan needs to understand is their chaps were killed.
I take Qamar Chima's point.
The general is endorsing Pakistan's perspective.
I don't think he's endorsing Pakistan's perspective at all, because while there may have been a full political backing, Qamar Chima, for this, and I don't think General Ved Malik will ever endorse a Pakistani view on this particular issue. The point is, this particular military operation was an army operation. It was the army that wanted to do this operation as well after the Uri attack. The political powers that be provided all the political authority and the push necessary for such an operation. And of course, the key point is, Gaurav, and you and I covered this, is that this was declared officially and publicly to the world. Those are the only key differences. To say that this was playing to the gallery would be very, very unfair to the fact that these special forces officers and the army command in that particular area, the army leadership, conducted a very, very professional operation.
And Qamar Chima, the point for Pakistan to note here is, if there is a terror attack that is traced back to Pakistan, there will be costs for the Pakistan army, which will not be restricted perhaps just to artillery or mortar fire. General Malik, is that the message that these surgical strikes now seek to send out?
That is right. That is absolutely right. That if required, we can undertake such missions again.
Qamar Chima, that's the message. If Pakistan sends in more terrorists, there will be more strikes. You call them deep, you call them shallow, but Pakistan will have to live with it. And the nuclear umbrella, the nuclear threshold, you know, whatever Pakistan's doctrine was, spread terror and threaten with a nuclear war and there'll be no response from India. That regime in India doesn't exist. That was terrified by Pakistani nuclear threshold. Do you appreciate that fact now?
Well, I think the general has concluded everything. What general is saying is that the Indian government has used Indian military for gaining political incentive. It is the BJP's will to gain political incentive at the cost of losing the army officers in India.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think that's the message that your book sends out.
It's the general saying. Your general, the former Indian general, chief of army staff, is saying that the Indian government used Indian military for gaining political incentive. So it was playing to the
40 people.
My perspective is clear.
40 Pakistanis were killed. You're talking about a BJP government here. Qamar Chima, 40 Pakistanis were killed in India's surgical strike. You're only looking at what the politics in our country.
How does it matter in Pakistan whether it was playing to the gallery or political authority? The simple fact is, if you look at what it happens on the ground, Mr. Chima, with all due respect to you, you're talking about doctrine, you're talking about the definitions of surgical strike, depth, or whether the BJP wanted to use the military. Let's talk about the fact that the surgical strike happened. Let's talk about the fact that Pakistan has denied that it even happened. Forget about the details of it. And now you've got the major who led the surgical strikes, sir, who, completely endorsed by the government, has spoken out in an interview talking about the nuts and bolts of this operation. So it's not just about saying we did the operation, but here's how it actually happened. So the ball is in Pakistan's court to either run away and hide like it did at that time as well, or deal with the specifics that have now come out about this operation.
Qamar Chima, respond.
Well, I think what I believe is that what India was trying to get, India has actually failed to get out of that. stand with my perspective that since the BJP has taken office in Indian government, they are trying to be hostile towards Pakistan to gain a political mileage because they are playing for the RSS or that right-wing Hindu militants who are actually
Indian Prime Minister actually visited your Prime Minister on his, on an occasion.
If, the Indian government
What
is
hostility
trying
are
to
you
change
talking
the
about?
Indian nuclear doctrine.
The Indian government is under a huge amount of criticism because of certain inconsistencies in the friendship between India and Pakistan.
Trying to create hostility.
Sir,
India is trying to change the military
That
doctrine,
is
nuclear military
grossly
doctrine.
unfair.
So creating
When he
complete
took
chaos in the
over, he
region.
invited Nawaz Sharif and all the other SARC heads of government and state. He tried on a positive. Yes, General. Closing comments to you, General Malik. Yes, sir.
Gaurav, we must remember that this surgical strike was undertaken in retaliation to what they did in Uri.
Absolutely.
Our government made up its mind to carry out this strike as a retaliation to what the Pakistanis had done in Uri. So let's not say that it was an initiative taken, it was in retaliation to send a message to Pakistan that next time you do something like this, you will have to pay for it.
Okay, and that was a very strong message that was sent out. Kamar Chima in Pakistan, General Ved Malik and Shiv Arur for the moment. Many thanks and Shiv, many congratulations once again. We will continue to track developments on this story very closely, but one thing is very clear. The message that India sent out to Pakistan, if there is Pakistan-sponsored terror, there will be costs not just for those terrorists, but for the Pakistan army and handlers of those terrorists. The Dera Sauda chief, Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, is an under trial in 2 cases of murder, which come up for hearing in a court on Saturday. Haryana is on the edge once again. 40 companies of Central Armed Police Forces have been deployed across Haryana. The Dera Sauda chief is currently lodged at a jail in Rohtak, but the police are still hunting for his closest aide, Honeypreet, who went underground the day Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh went to jail.
The Dera chief is behind bars, but the hunt for his adopted daughter Honeypreet is still on. She's been missing for nearly a month now, but could the cops be closing in on the Dera chief's closest aide? Two latest arrests could bring the police closer to Honeypreet Insan. Cops have arrested Honeypreet's driver and another aide of the Dera chief, Dilavar Singh. Police say that Dilavar was constantly in touch with Honeypreet. Both these arrests could provide vital clues about Honeypreet's whereabouts. While Honeypreet continues to be on the run, sources at the Rohtak jail say that the Dera chief is pining for his favourite angel in prison. Gurmeet Singh had requested that he be allowed to meet Honeypreet. That wish is yet to be granted. The Dera chief did, however, meet his mother in jail and is said to have broken down. But the Dera chief's dirty secrets continue to tumble out. The latest is the revelation about Ram Rahim's day and night dinners. Gurmeet Singh didn't just prey upon girls inside the Dera, but also had a roving eye for girls outside. The Dera chief had appointed agents who would invite girls for night parties at the Dera headquarters. The women would spend the night with Gurmeet Singh and would have had to shell about 12,000 rupees for this special dinner. The women would be made to stay in a villa. Some nights, even pool parties were organized. Bureau Report, India Today.
The question now is, where is Honeypreet Insan? His closest aide, adopted daughter, co-star, Honeypreet Insan has been missing. Now security forces are now seeking the help of intelligence agencies including IB and RAW. Has she already gone abroad, Or worse still, has she succeeded in destroying evidence against the Dera Sacha Sauda chief and her alleged role in the operations of Dera Sacha Sauda?
This was the last time Honeypreet Insan was seen publicly. The day the Dera chief was convicted of raping 2 women, he was spotted with his adopted daughter at the Panchkula court. Almost a month later, there is no trace of Honeypreet. In fact, her vanishing act has stunned the security forces. The Haryana police, RAW and the Intelligence Bureau are all looking for Honeypreet, and she continues to give them the slip. Honeypreet Insan is the biggest secret keeper of the Dera chief and his dirty deeds. Being Gurmeet Singh's closest aide, she is the only one who has information of the Dera chief's dealings. Now, a former Dera devotee claims that Honeypreet may have destroyed all evidence. He says that after Gurmeet Singh's conviction, his adopted daughter went to the Dera headquarters in Sirsa and destroyed all CCTV cameras and videos. What's more, he claims that Honeypreet even erased all records of Gurmeet Singh's dubious financial dealings.
ये जितनी जल्दी वो हाथ लगेगी उतने रात ज़्यादा खुल सकते हैं, जितना टाइम लगेगा उतना अपने आप को प्रिपेयर कर लेगी। सब कुछ उनको पता है और सुनने में आया है कि वो आके डेरे में भी 1-2 दिन रुकी है और सारा अपना सेटिंग करके फिर वहाँ से गई है।
But where has the most powerful woman of the Dera now gone? Haryana police have gone from Rohtak to Gurugram, Uttar Pradesh, Indo-Nepal border to Bardmer in Rajasthan. But their hunt for Honeypreet has not yielded any results yet.
देखिए, हर चीज़ पे हम आपको मैं लगातार बताई जा रहा हूँ कि हर इंफॉर्मेशन पे, हर बात पे हम इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रहे हैं और अभी इन्वेस्टिगेशन के बारे में कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन देना वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन को खराब कर सकता है.
Sources say that Honeypreet's life could be in danger as she knows too much about the Dera and its chief. As the mystery around her disappearance deepens, the only question now is, where exactly is Honeypreet Insan? Mr. Satendra Chauhan, Bureau Report, India Today.
So it's not just the Haryana police who are looking for Honeypreet Insan. According to Rohtak jail officials, Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh in prison is also waiting for Honeypreet Insan to come and visit him in prison. She hasn't done that. She's gone underground. He's in pain according to jail officials. He apparently is also missing his performance enhancement drugs. He's addicted to those drugs, and according to jail officials, he claims he's also addicted to Honeypreet Insan.
Jailed self-styled godman Gurmeet Ram Rahim is feeling restless. This revelation comes from a group of doctors who examined him in jail, and it's rather shocking. Doctors claim that the Dera chief is a sex addict. No access to physical pleasures in jail is making the self-styled godman complain of uneasiness. Not only that, former Dera aide and CBI witness Gurdas Singh Thoor has claimed that Gurmeet Singh regularly consumed sex tonics to increase his libido.
कुछ ऐसे ऑस्ट्रेलिया से ड्रिंक मंगवाता था जो कि बड़े पावरफुल होते थे. वो इसके अब दिमाग चढ़ के यहाँ से बहुत सारी भस्में खाई हुई हैं इसने पहले, तो वो इसके दिमाग चढ़ के बोल रही हैं क्योंकि जो सेक्स का भेड़िया है वो उसके बिना नहीं रह सकता.
Revelations about the Dera chief's sexual urges don't stop there. In another shocking disclosure, a Dera Sadhvi who stayed at Gurmeet Singh's Dera for 3 years recounted how women were sexually exploited by Gurmeet Singh. She said the women followers would be given spiked drinks before they were sexually abused.
और कहते भी गुफा च भी पिता जी कहते भी बुलाते नहीं सानू अंदर भी तुहानू माफी देनी आ और बहुत उत्थे पिता जी गलत काम करदे सी इस करके.
These disclosures come at the backdrop of Ram Rahim's claims of being impotent and physically incapable of performing sex. And that's not all. In a massive search operation at the Dera headquarters in Sirsa, an illegal abortion clinic was also found. The search team recovered pregnancy termination kits from inside Dera and even found a tunnel connecting Gurmeet Singh's room to the Sadhvi's room.
सर्च ऑपरेशन का काम पूरी तरह 100% कंप्लीट होगा और सभी टीमों ने अपनी जो रिपोर्ट है माननीय कोर्ट कमिश्नर महोदय को सौंप दी है और माननीय कोर्ट कमिश्नर महोदय जो सीलबंद एक लिफाफे करके उनको पंजाब एंड हरियाणा हाई कोर्ट में सौंपेंगे.
Revelations from doctors, ex-Dera aides and Sadhvis have added to the shocking facts about the Dera chief's erotic lifestyle. Now paving way for more stories to be uncovered. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Central Bureau of Investigation will now take over investigations in the Pradyumna murder case at Ryan International School. The CBI will also probe whether there were lapses on the part of the school, whether the conductor was the murderer or are others involved. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar today visited Pradyumna's family and promised them all help.
Haunted by the murder of a 7-year-old, Haryana's Chief Minister has finally moved ahead. Almost a week after the horrific incident, Manohar Lal Khattar visited the distressed family on Friday and handed the probe to the CBI.
इस मांग के आधार के ऊपर इस केस को सीबीआई को जांच के लिए सौंपा जाता है.
Meantime, the noose also tightened around the school. The state government has taken over its control for now.
हमने ये भी तय किया है कि स्कूल का ये जो मैनेजमेंट का काम है अभी 3 महीने के लिए इसको टेक ओवर किया जाता है.
According to top official sources, the stringent measures was waiting to happen in the face of growing public outrage and glaring safety lapses at Ryan's Gurugram branch. According to official sources, investigators have found brazen safety flaws, where 7-year-old Pradyuman Thakur was fatally attacked, allegedly by a school bus conductor. Take a look at the violations detected by the CBSE's probe team at Ryan International in Gurugram. Violation 1. A dysfunctional closed-circuit camera outside school toilet. Violation 2. Outsider could easily access students' toilets. Violation 3. Breaches in boundary walls. Violation 4. School authorities carried no police verification of staff. Violation 5. No visitor record maintained at school gates. No entry of outsiders anywhere in school registers. Finally, a clampdown on Ryan International for all its suspected sins of omissions and commissions. The question now troubling every parent is if their children are safe at their schools. A momentous challenge for state and central governments to work out mechanisms on a war footing. What happened at Ryan should not happen anywhere else ever again. With Shalini Lobo, Chirag Goti and Mausami Singh. Bureau Report, India Today.
We will continue to track developments on that story very closely, but that is all we have time for on the newsroom tonight. Many thanks for watching.